Hey, everybody, welcome to the Sharpe Way Show at 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And yes, it's me here yet again. And I've changed what I was going to talk about because, well, you know why. Of course you do. I was going to beat up on my governor with Tuesdays with Andy, but, well, all of a sudden, the jury in Minnesota decided we're going to preempt all the news. And they just preempted all the news. So I am stuck with all the news. That's what happens. No worries. It is what it is. I'm happy to bring this up because the take that I haven't heard yet, right? I've taken some time to listen to the takes of the Chauvin George Floyd trial verdict and the results, and I'm not hearing what I really was hoping that I'd hear. Hoping maybe is the wrong. What I thought should be said, but simply isn't being said. We are basically just taking one side or the other, right? And saying, well, this is the right side and this is the other side, and that's that. But something else has happened too. And that is the people who were kind of, this is he's going to be innocent or he's going to be not guilty. Many of them just turn around and go, oh yeah, he's a bad guy, gone, threw him under the bus. Under the bus you go. We never liked you. But if you noticed, during this time, I spoke almost nothing about the verdict, about the even trial. It wasn't a thing for me, right? The trial wasn't a thing for me. I didn't really talk about it much at all. Why did I not talk about it? In fact, when I talked about George Floyd, I even stopped saying, if those of you paying attention, I stopped saying the murder of George Floyd, and I started saying the death of George Floyd. Now, why would I say that? Did I think that Chauvin didn't murder him? No, I did. I did believe that. But that isn't the point. If I am going to talk about due process, if I'm going to be if I aspire to be an appropriate public figure, then I shouldn't be saying he's guilty until he's proven guilty. That's what I should be saying it, right? That's what I should be saying. Now, the funny part is some people are surprised at the verdict. I hear that always. I don't know why you're surprised at the verdict. And let me be very clear. I've been on juries before. I have actually done jury duty more than once. It is not about facts. And people who say that, that's a joke. That's absolutely not true. If any of you have been on a jury, you know what I'm talking about. It's not about facts. It is about, without question, it is about emotion. And this is an emotional story, and people are going to be moved by this. And you'd have to find one juror who was so ideologically shut off that they would actually not allow their emotions to move them. And that would be a tough thing to do. The judge even said it. There, you watch the video all day and watch the guy's knee on the neck. How are you going to say no to that? I'm saying human beings, right? So there was no shock to me. I told everybody, they said, what's going to happen? I said, he's convicted on at least 2, if not 3. There was no doubt in my mind. And I hardly watched the trial at all. But if I'm going to be a public figure or espouse to be one, I want to be the way that Biden was up until yesterday, which is just shut up. Don't try to influence it all. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I talk all the time about people getting, due process. So I shut my mouth and I let them do due process. That's what I did, right? I would hope we all would do that. So I shut up, let him go. Biden wasn't that bad. He was a little bit bad today, but it was already late. Maxine Waters was terrible. She should have shut her mouth and said nothing. Keep your mouth shut. That's it. That's the feeling. Maxine Waters should have just shut up and said nothing. If she's mad, she gets to be mad. We all get to be mad or happy or whatever we feel. But when you are a public figure, and Maxine Waters is, shut up. I did. And I'm nowhere near as popular as Maxine Waters was. And I thought that he should have been convicted. I'm happy with the verdict. I am. But I shut up. I didn't say anything about it. I try to give this man what everyone is due, which is due process. Give him due process. Shut your mouth if you're a public figure. And what happens, and there it is. But I want to go to a couple of different places here if I can. The idea that this solves everything. It doesn't. It doesn't. Does it give George Floyd's family some better feeling? Maybe. I assume so. They get a day of that. I haven't had this happen in my life, so it's hard for me to say. But yeah, I think they get some solace. But it doesn't solve any problem. There's no real reform. None at all. That's the part that isn't that good. Now, something good did happen. And that is, for the first time in a long time I can remember ever, cops didn't just support cops. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Cops said, nah, I wouldn't have done that. Cops said, no, that was too far. What it did, the best part about this, without question, the best part about this is actually not the verdict. And I know some of you will be upset about that, but that isn't the best part. The best part about this, without question, is this showed that good cops can stand up against the bad cops. That is critical. If anything, if this did anything good and that may be long lasting, I hope it's that one. So good cops can now stand up against bad cops. That is an awesome thing. I really hope that's what begins to happen, because guys like Chauvin, and I know some of you support Chauvin and some of you don't. Chauvin was a bad cop with a horrible rap sheet. That's true. And so I'm glad he's gone. That's a good thing. But if we had a system to where the good cops could have stepped up before, they really could. I mean, could they legally? Sure. Of course, legally they could have. But you know what? Then they get the Snowden treatment. And I think they want that, right? So, I mean, legally they could have, but in reality they couldn't. Now they can. Now the good cops can go, no, that's a bad cop. Can we get rid of him so that he can stop staining the rest of the police force? Can we get rid of this bad cop so I can be a good cop, be proud of what I do, and not have to worry about this guy next to me doing some stupid stuff? Can we do that? I think that is good. I think that's a great thing. That, I think, is the best of the things that happened. I want to go over, if I can, I want to show what Van Jones spoke about. And I want to walk down the parts of him, of what he said that were right and the parts that were off. But I get where he's standing. Van Jones doesn't always say the smartest things, but he does. He's sometimes right. I want to always give people the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes he's on the money, just often he's not. But anyway, this is Van Jones.
In horror, not knowing what to do, but just holding that phone steady. She did the right thing. All those community members who came and begged and pleaded and talked, they did the right thing.
Yes, and this is the second thing I want to bring up. This party's right. He's saying that people did the right thing. They, took pictures. They said, please stop. They did the right thing. And it also shows that citizens should be able to do the right thing. That community does matter. This is a good message. I agree. This is a good message. That's for sure.
EMT person did the right thing.
That part's true.
When people called the police on the police, they did the right thing. When the police chief fired this man, he did the right thing.
This I disagree with. Right? This one he's wrong. I say it all the time. Some of you, I know I burn it into your skull. I don't care. It does matter. It does matter. Chauvin deserved and got it due process. He should not have been fired right away. He's been put under investigation, and you check it out and you decide if he's right or wrong, because not every time a cop shoots someone is the cop wrong. I'm not pro-cop or anti-cop. I'm pro-human being. And sometimes when cops shoot people, their life's in danger. And sometimes when they take violent action, it's appropriate. You've got bad people out there doing bad things. That does happen. And if you fire a cop every time he shoots someone, you're going to have a problem, right? Or is violent. In this case, he didn't shoot anybody, but he's violent. I mean, sometimes cops got to be violent. Sometimes you got to put someone's head in the ground. That does happen. In this case, clearly that was not required. He was already cuffed and there were 4 guys. Not required in this case. And all the cops agreed, right? And this is the point. I'm not making this up. Other cops agreed this was inappropriate. But you can't just start firing cops because they're violent. Sometimes they have a very violent job. And so you've got to sometimes be violent. So I'm saying we do have to give everybody due process, and he shouldn't have been fired.
When people marched by the millions, they did the right thing. And part of what I think the message has to be is that we have to get more involved.
Oh,
It
yes.
started with that young girl.
He's right.
She got involved. And then you had a...
Yes, but I don't want people just getting involved. What you see now, protesting. Protesting, fine. It makes you feel good. We're going to protest. Okay, whatever. But are you actually going to start self-policing with community policing your neighborhood? If you're saying that, yes, absolutely. Because the more communities police their own neighborhoods, the more communities are together with their police force, the less times this happens. This is a change that I hope will actually happen, right? I talk about it all the time. I want communities to be policed the way they want to be policed. And almost always that means some type of community aspect has to be part of the police force. Some people ask the cops to live in the community. Some, have neighborhood watches or whatever's going to work in your environment. In this case, again, I think he's right. This could be a positive thing that comes from it. But if we just go back to, let's just march to put cops in jail, that is not going to help. That's just going to put more cops in jail and make more angry cops. Oh, wait a minute. You mean using a stick and being violent towards people doesn't work? Yes, that's what I'm saying. And being violent against cops is also not going to work. Cops are just humans, just like the rest of us.
Community stand up, and you had a governor step in and take the case and give it to Keith Ellison to make sure that it was done the right way. This is the beginning of something.
What's the beginning?
This is not the end of anything. This is the beginning of something.
Now, I agree. Now, but where does he go, right? This is the problem. I hear this constantly. Now we can fix things. Now we can make things better. So let me ask you, what's the thing that we need to repair? What are the things that we need to do now, right? Great. So this is the beginning. So if this is the beginning, what are the next steps that will make this thing work? Please, Van Jones, enlighten me.
Where is Congress?
Okay.
They need to act. Those chokeholds are still legal according to federal government.
So the idea is to make chokeholds illegal, or you could end the war on drugs. Just saying. You could end the war on drugs so that the cops aren't put into these positions to where they have to go knock on people's doors and do no-knock warrants and all these types of things if you'd end the war on drugs. You could take cannabis off of Schedule 1. You could begin to withdraw the entire war on drugs infrastructure from now until maybe 3-4 years from now till it's gone. You could do that, or you could, I guess, outlaw chokehold so they hit him with a stick instead. I don't know. There was no chokehold with the knee on his neck. That wasn't a chokehold. I don't know.
Needs to change. There's no duty to intervene from the federal government. That needs to change.
Duty to intervene. So now the answer is anytime a cop is anything wrong, the federal government has to step in. Because when will oversight ever go wrong? I'm not against things changing. I want them to change. But this top-down concept, we need the federal government to be more aggressive. We need the federal government to step in, we need the federal government to outlaw chokeholds. The only thing I want the federal government to do is end the war on drugs. Stop putting cops in these positions. Stop throwing cops into these neighborhoods. Stop turning cops into profit centers. Don't make law enforcement a profit center. How about we do that? That's real change. And that was my entire point that I talked about when I first started this thing. No one's talking about that. No one's talking about that. So let's end chokeholds and arrest more cops, because that'll solve it. Wait a minute. Did we just arrest more people in the war on drugs? Did that stop drugs? No. So why do we think arresting more cops will stop cops from doing what they're doing? We've created a bad environment to where the bad cops can survive. The hope of this is you saw good cops turn on that bad cop. And Chauvin was a bad cop. If you know his background, he was a bad cop. And the good cops turned on him and got rid of him. Yes, let's keep doing that. Let's let the good cops come to the front and say, hey, there's the bad guys, get rid of them.
There's no registry for cops like Chauvin. That needs to change. When you have somebody like...
Or instead of a registry, a list that cops will get stuck on, which I know what could go wrong with lists, right? Oh my God, terrible idea. Or you could just have cops carry their own liability insurance, in which case insurance companies will eventually say, you've got a rap sheet. I can't, insure you anymore, or your insurance rates go up so high that you can't be a cop anymore, in which case he can't be a cop. But Larry, the unions will never stand for that. Then let the unions be insurance brokers. They can broker the insurance and make cash. Unions just want to make cash. You get to make cash, but something else would happen. Now the unions would start spending most of their time supporting good cops instead of bad cops. Sadly, and if you're part of a union, you see this. Many unions absolutely spend most of their time defending the 10% of the bad apples and ignoring the 90% of the good apples. Well, if that's the case, have this happen, and then unions will be, you know what? We got to keep the good cops because they're not only paying dues, but they're paying insurance, and we're getting a cut because we're brokers. Let's protect the good cops. Again, because just because a cop does something that's violent doesn't mean it shouldn't have been done. Protect the good cops, throw the bad cops out. This system can be built. We're not doing that, though.
Like, Representative Karen Bass and Tim Scott fighting. We need to get behind them. This should never happen again. All
right, that's the second thing. This should never happen again. This goes back to zero tolerance. And I know it sounds good. Let's make sure this never happens again. This is going to happen again. People are humans. Cops are humans. We're going to get bad cops, or not even bad cops, scared cops, whatever, scared people. This is going to happen again. The question is, can we make this happen? Very few and far between. Can we make this a very rare occurrence? And I think we can. That's realistic. We can make it to where this happens so rarely that we're shocked. I would like that. I would like this to happen so rarely that we're shocked. That's a realistic goal.
Down, many more to go. Sometimes when we fight.
That's the problem I can't stand. One down, many more to go. Now you're hunting cops. That's not a police force I want to have in my city. I don't want to have a police force that thinks we're now hunting them. Just as bad as we believe that the cops are hunting others, now we're going to hunt them. I don't want to go there. I don't want to become what I hate. That's not what I want to do. Just because I may be angry or upset or whatever the case may be, it doesn't mean that I should now become what I hate most. An eye for an eye, and we all go blind. No, thank you. Change the system so that cops will also self-police, which is what you saw. This was a time when the cops was self-police. They went, that's a bad cop. Let's get rid of him. Let's get rid of him. And that's what we should be doing.
We lose, but sometimes when we fight, we won. The people won.
When you saw Derek Chauvin putting his hands behind his back, being handcuffed and let out of the court, what did you think?
Justice. Justice. I've seen so
it's not justice. I'm not sure I'd go with that, but yeah, I get it.
Many kids who've done so much less than him walk out of courtrooms in handcuffs.
I saw this firsthand. Second-degree murder case I'm on. Sadly, I was only an alternate juror, so I watched the entire case. I didn't get a chance to vote, which sucked. It was literally one gangbanger fingered the other gangbanger, and the first gangbanger goes away for second-degree murder. The whole jury, yep, away he goes. Put him away. Put the kid away. One gangbanger points on the other gangbanger, and the guy's going away for second-degree murder. Like, wow, couldn't find the weapon, couldn't find him. Only one guy did an eyewitness, and he was another gangbanger who was living down in the city because he was scared for his life. This is true. It's what happened in my case that I was on. And that's what happened. And put him away. Like, what? If that guy gave you directions to McDonald's, you wouldn't believe him. But he says this gangbanger shot some guy with no other evidence. And when I say no other evidence, I mean no other evidence. No other evidence. There was no gun, no fingerprints, no other witnesses, nothing. One gangbanger says, yeah, that guy shot him. That's it. Gone. Second-degree murder. Away. I literally watched that happen. Van's right on this one. That's totally true.
With much less evidence. I've seen kids do 20 years, 30 years on snitch evidence. Just one kid testify against another kid and go away to prison.
That's true.
We don't have TV cameras and body cameras. And
I want to touch a TV camera piece too. Man, am I so happy this was televised. The world didn't end. We've been having the Supreme Court won't put television cameras in their court. You know what? No, Supreme Court, put television cameras in your court. You're not that goddamn special. This is supposed to be our courtroom, right? So put cameras in yours too. I don't care. It showed we could do it. There were cameras in the courtroom. You didn't show faces of minors. Well done. You shouldn't. If you're a minor, don't show your face. Didn't show the face of any of the jurors. What's wrong with that? And now it works. And now we get to see how this works. Not a bad idea. I'm very happy it was televised. And I think when it was televised, a lot of people who were on the fence had an actual feeling. And you also, when it's televised, you tend to get more sympathy or empathy, maybe wrong word, empathy with the jurors. Being a juror, some of you have been a juror, you know, it is tough. It is not easy being a juror. It's very difficult. You're literally in charge of ruining someone's life. That's not an easy thing to do, an easy job to have. So that part is correct.
Cell phone. So many young people from that community sitting in prison, and cops getting away with murder over and over again. That's what justice looks like. There.
I'm not sure if I would go that far, but I get where he's going, right? I get his emotion. I get his feeling behind it. I totally get it. But there are other things I think that are important here too, right? The number one is that we can make good cops turn on the bad cops. Let me grab a couple comments here if I have it. Ed says, damn it, need to push Tuesday with Andy to another day. I missed that. Thank you. I do like Tuesday with Andy, but they took over social media. What I'm going to do? I had to do it. Yes. Michael says it. Michael says Facebook is all Chauvin verdict. It is. I saw it. I had to do that. Absolutely. So live your life, cause no harm says, I love watching the eyes of people who think they can get away with breaking the law when they are found guilty. It's priceless. BLM and the locals had to fight Antifa outside from burning things. Is that right? Wow. I'm glad that no one's burning things. That's a good thing. But you bring up a point, right? I don't like the idea, and this is going to sound terrible, libertarian and all, but I really like the idea of give us the verdict we want or we burn the place down. That to me is horrible. That to me is wrong. It's bad. Everything is bad. If we have a system, which we did have, where vast majority of the time cops just get away with murder, if that was true and qualified immunity, all those things, then change the system. Don't burn the system down, right? Because once you start burning it down, you lose it. You saw it in the summer when George Floyd first was killed and the first people started marching. Most people, vast majority of Americans were totally on board. Yep, that's right. Good, go march. Then the violence came and a bunch of Americans walked away from that movement. Like, whoa, what is going on? A bunch walked away. So yeah, I want to make sure that they're stopping people outside from burning things is a good thing. I'm glad that happened. So thank you for saying that. But I got a feeling if you look at the actual time, the verdict, he wasn't shocked. And I'll show you that. He wasn't shocked at all, man. He knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I think most people knew it was coming, right? Let me see if I can actually find this piece here. Hold on. See if I can find it here. Here, I'll actually show it to you. He literally didn't do a thing. He didn't even blink. He just sat there. He did nothing. I think he was just like, all right, then I'm just going away, I guess. This is him doing it. This is what happens.
Second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:44 p.m.
Didn't even move. Like, yeah. Oh, you guys put me away. Okay, yeah.
Signed juror 4-person, juror number 19.
Nothing.
Caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury in the above entitled matter, as to count 2. Third degree
up to 40 years in prison. He's like, whatevs.
Dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 20.
Guy doesn't even flinch. This guy is sociopath or something. Guy doesn't even flinch. It's like, whatever. Oh, 40 years. Whatever. Oh, this one's 25. Whatever. That's, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm done. I think he thought he knew it. I think his lawyer told him. Paul says, I'm surprised at the verdict. I was listening to Tim Pool's analysis of the evidence, and it seemed like he was going to get off. Excuse me. I'm afraid the jury voted guilty of fear of riot. I think it's mob rule now. I don't buy that one, Paul. I don't think the jury did that. Juries tend to not feel that way. That's not 100% rule, but juries tend to actually not care about that stuff. I remember the OJ trial back in the day. I mean, if you look, they tend to not do that. So I don't think that was true. I don't think Tim Pool was correct. I think Tim Pool was off. Tim Pool Tim Pool had his own view, and his view colored the way he saw the facts, and that changed his way he spoke. And not just that, I'm assuming, I don't know Tim personally, but I'm assuming he hasn't been on a jury. Juries, facts are important and valuable. Emotions are kind of more important. I talk about this on this show all the time. Humans are not just logical, they are also emotional. So you've got to be able to do both an emotional push and a logical push to move this thing forward. Clearly, his defense attorney couldn't do those two things. So I'm not surprised with this at all. I knew it was at least two, but maybe three. So yes. So, all right. While what happened to George Floyd was tragic, it appears the jury was tampered with, given the rage machine being pushed by Mad Max, Maxine Water, and the fake Reverend Al Sharpton. I agree that Maxine Waters was completely out of line and literally has given him a chance at an appeal that he probably wouldn't have had. I mean, I'm not saying that it'll get overturned, because verdicts rarely get overturned. I mean, it's very rare. But now there's something to say now. Joe Biden saying that, you're completely correct. Everyone should have just shut up. I did, and I'm not even them. And if you notice, I didn't say anything about this. I kept my mouth shut. I was only saying the death of George Floyd. I wasn't even saying the murder. I was open to giving him 100% what we all deserve, a day in court. We all deserve that. Every one of you, me, we all deserve a day in court. He got his day in court. So you're right, totally inappropriate. But I don't think, I disagree with you and Paul on this one. I don't think they were affected by the mob, only because they tend not to be. Jurors tend not to be affected by that. I've been a juror more than once. It's not a thing. Like, we're not like, what did it? We don't even think, will that guy get mad at us, right? And I've been with gangbangers. So the juries don't even go, well, maybe if we convict them, the gangbangers will come after us. And that would be a realistic worry, right? Maybe we put one of the gangbangers away and they'll come after us and shoot us in the street later or something. No. Jurors tend to not be affected by that. That's not really a thing. So I don't think that's true. And only from my experience, I could be wrong, but from my experience, I haven't seen that at all. Yeah. So I need to hear the opinion of Maxine Waters. Yes, completely wrong. She just kept her mouth shut. Just stop. You have so many people who are so worried about being righteous that they don't care about anything else. It just shows Maxine Waters doesn't care about the system at all. She doesn't care about the system. She doesn't care about any of that stuff. She cares about, how can I take advantage of what's going on? Typical bad politician. That's what it is. She should have just kept her mouth shut. Say nothing. Yes. Sam says the defense was very weak, but on top of that, Maxine Waters, a non-sequestered juror, has a lot of grounds for appeal. That's my point, Sam. Thank you. Yes. The jury was sequestered in the morning when Biden said his thing. So Biden's is not as bad. Still inappropriate. I think Avi's right. Biden should have also kept his mouth shut and just said something like, I hope for a righteous or correct verdict, and left it at that, or something vague. But he was like, and I know what I think, in my opinion. He had to add all that stuff. Should have just not virtue signaled and said, let justice be done. That would have been the right way of doing it. He does have grounds for appeal. But again, for those of you who know, it is very hard to have an appeal actually work. It does happen. Just it's very rare. It's very rare. So giving Chauvin a chance at a mistrial is ridiculous. She could have stayed quiet for 48 hours. Thank you. Yes, just shut up. Yes. They came back with a guilty verdict because they were afraid of a retaliation. I just don't see that. I know a lot of people, I'm seeing this all over. What retaliation from whom? I mean, you have juries who put mobsters away. You have juries who put gangbangers away. I was on one that put one away. Like, we put gangbangers away. We put mobsters away. Was George Floyd's mob going to come to my house and yell at me, maybe? I mean, I guess it's possible. They might yell at me. But mobsters and gangbangers, in theory, will literally gun you down on the streets. And juries still put them away on a weekly basis, if not daily basis. We put MS-13 gangbangers away. I mean, those guys will literally chop your head off. Literally. with a hatchet take your head off. And we put them away. Tough for me to buy this one. I think they believed it. They were affected by their emotion because they're human, because that's how jurors work. And defense attorneys should know that. And a good defense attorney would know that. I mean, they didn't do anything, I feel, in defense to show the emotion of Chauvin. I didn't watch that much of it, but I didn't see that. I didn't see it at all. And in my opinion, and I am not a lawyer, so I'm sure you lawyers will beat me up. If I'm Chauvin, I testify. I get up there and I let them beat me up and I show how human I am and I try to be a human being. Then it's my only shot at getting off, acting like I was really scared or worried or the mob was going to get me or something. Otherwise, all they're going to see is that picture of him with his knee on George Floyd's neck. What would you expect them to do, Alfred? I don't think anyone was afraid of retaliation. I don't see it. Only because of my experience. If any of you have been on juries and have felt differently, I'm happy to have that conversation because I could be wrong. I'm going through my experience. And I'm talking gangbangers. Nobody was afraid. Nobody cared. Nick's Game says, Chauvin may be guilty, but the system's still broken. Thank you. Yes, this is what I'm saying. And if we think the answer now is, let's go after and start hunting cops, that is the exact wrong answer. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's go the opposite. Let's reward the good cops for pointing out the bad cops. Let's do that. That's a good plan. Let's end the war on drugs so cops don't have a reason to kick in someone's door over weed. Let's do that. That's a good idea. Let's work on that. And I don't see any of the pundits bringing that up. All I see is them having glee about putting a cop away. And I'm whether Chauvin gets 65 years or 12 years, does it bring back George Floyd? No. Does it fix the system? No. Does it make better cops? No. I don't care how much time he gets. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. They give him 5 years. I don't care. 50 years. Not me. I don't know him. I don't. He's not my loved one, part of my family. I'm not going to miss him. I'm sure his loved ones care, but not me. Convicted because good cops stepped up. This is the best part of this. Good cops stepped up. But something else happened. When those good cops stepped up, what you saw is a bunch of people who were anti-cop go, huh. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. A bunch of people like, oh, cops, you're bad. Well, there's two cops going, no, he shouldn't have done that. They're like, oh, well, there's some good cops. Yeah, there's actually a lot of good cops, right? There's actually a lot of them. The bad ones stand out, that's for sure. I mean, that's clear. The bad ones stand out. But there's actually a lot of good cops. There we go. Changing the system, let the good cops show up. That's the thing I like. So, yes. Wade says, devil's advocate, do you think the threat of violence with a jury? I keep seeing this. This is what the fifth one I've seen. It's in the why would this one? And again, I want to be very clear. We have put violent people away. Very violent, from violent gangs, literally serial killers, MS-13 gangbangers. We've put Crips and Bloods away. Jury system has put lots of really Mexican cartel people away. And the jury wasn't swayed by that. But they're swayed by, I don't know, 100 guys with BLM banners out front? Some Antifa guys with masks on? They're scared of those guys, but not against MS-13 drug cartels, Crips and Bloods, mafiosos. They're not scared of them, but they're scared of, I don't know, 30 kids in black masks because they might spray paint their car. Throw a can of soup at them. I mean, I don't know why. I don't get this one. I don't get this one. I don't know why people think that they were swayed by BLM or Antifa or something. Half of America doesn't even know what they actually are. Half of America has no idea what Antifa even is. Right? I mean, some people watching this show probably do, but a lot of Americans don't even know what Antifa is. What's the Antifa stuff? I don't know. They have no idea. I can't see it, Wade. I'm open to being proven wrong here. I'm going from my experience and what I've seen out in logic. I don't see it. I don't. So does he go to general population? Will he be protected in prison? I can't imagine a killer cop would last long in prison. My assumption is he'll be in protective custody. It's my assumption, right? He still is law enforcement, and there will be some loyalty to him. And law enforcement, by the way, some people think that law enforcement's only cops. It isn't. Law enforcement's cops. It's also corrections officers. It's parole officers. There's a lot of chunks to law enforcement. It's not just cops. Cops are clearly a big part of it, obviously, but there are other parts, and there is some loyalty there. So I think they probably will try to protect him in prison because, he's going to be in trouble. I think he will be. Yes. Scott says it does matter, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, only the mega news corporations and fake activists who buy multi-million-dollar homes, they're the only winners. Oh, Scott, look at you. You're not wrong. A lot of time you guys say stuff. You guys say a lot of stuff I don't like. Doesn't mean it's not true. Doesn't mean it's not true. I just don't like when you say it because it sounds bad. But yeah, I mean, unless we make real systemic changes, right? Unless we end the war on drugs, end qualified immunity, get them to take, liability insurance, get cannabis off of Schedule 1. We're just playing. You're right. The people who win are, yes, the activists, the mega news corporations, absolutely. And of course, the politicians who get in front of the camera and say, see, it was my pressure that did it. I'm Maxine Waters and I saved the day. I think they win too. Well, hopefully she loses because what she did was really stupid. Let me go back. What she did wasn't stupid. What she did was selfish. There's a difference, right? What Maxine Waters did was not stupid. It was selfish. I'm not sure if you'd have told her, if you actually would have told her, look, you do this, and this is maybe grounds for an appeal, I think she still would have done it. Well, how am I going to get my face in front of camera? Al Sharpton's taking all my spotlight right now. They dragged Jesse Jackson out of retirement. He's going to steal my spotlight. I'm going. That's what I think happened. I think it wasn't stupidity. I think it was selfishness. So Rain says, but when you hold officers accountable, you should have told that being an officer, you can't go to criminal justice. I agree. And again, the way you do that, though, in my view is, you have to have other cops who won't go, yeah. He did everything right, and I agree, and where we got a tough job, and you got to have cops going, yeah, he went too far. He went too far. Because this is the issue, Rain. You have situations where it might go the opposite way, which is what happened in New Orleans. For those of you who know New Orleans had a police force. I don't think it's that bad now, but I know it was at one point, maybe 10 years ago, where the police force was so corrupt that literally a cop's testimony on the stand was less trusted than a non-cop. That's how corrupt the force was at one point. You don't want that happening too, right? If you only go hunt cops, you get to a point where a cop's testimony has zero value, and that's wrong. It should have value. So now when a cop comes up and goes, he went too far, and we see it on TV, and now when we go back into the jury and one of us becomes a jury, we go, okay, no, I can trust these cops. They're not just they're not just back in the blue. It's what they honestly believe versus going, nah, he's just back in the blue. That guy's lying. And I think if the cops had backed Chauvin on this and like, no, he was right and done all that stuff, I think you run the risk of eventually jurors just not believing cops, just going, yeah, they're always just, doing it. They're always just protect themselves. So I think you're correct. I'm only clarifying it's because now good cops are showing us where the bad cops are. Michelle says protective custody means solitary. For a long bid, that's worse than death. Ooh. I'm actually not sure. I've never seen what protective custody means. I think what that means, Michelle, is there's a special section within the prison that is for people who are in protective custody. So that it's not necessarily solitary, like you're in a room by yourself with no windows. You are in an area with others in protective custody in a smaller area. I think that's how protective custody works. If there's any corrections officers who are watching and you want to clarify that for us, that would be helpful if you happen to know. But I think that's how it works. So Andrew says Chauvin needs his ass kicked in prison. It might happen. I mean, it might happen. Absolutely. Jericho says, I really hope the good cops stand up against the bad cops at the moment they are being a bad cop. That will save lives. Yes. And Jericho, this is the issue, right? The part that Van Jones said that's real, that I agree with, is that it showed that the community should step up and could step up and needs to step up. I talk about community all the time, and I think Van Jones in this case is correct. We should have the community step up. So now when a community says, take your knee off his neck or let me help him, there should be another cop there going, yeah, they're right. Man, back away. Let him take it. Back away. The harshest thing, remember, is what happens if they're wrong? What would have happened if they were wrong with George Floyd and he wasn't going to die, right? Let's say that's true. I'm not saying that's true, but for sake of argument, let's say that's true. And they all get up. George Floyd gets up. He was lying the whole time. He runs away handcuffed. What's the worst that happens? They chase him and grab him. Let's say he's super fast. They can't catch him. Okay, there's a guy running around handcuffed. They'll find him tomorrow? The day after? The worst that happens is they get him later. Does that make sense? Now, to be clear, if he's armed or he's got a gun or something, totally different. I'm saying once the guy's cuffed, what's the worst that happens? You catch him later. That's the worst. But if he's, I'm not saying you give up. I'm saying, is it required to go nuts when you got a guy on the ground and cuffed? No, it's not crazy. The worst that happens, he gets up and runs. So the cops got to run again to catch him, or you got to call someone else to get him. That hardly happens anyway, but even if that happened, that's the worst. So I think you're right. I think we can save lives. And again, another thing is, George Floyd, we don't even know what his crime would have been. Who knows what would have happened to him? Who knows? He might have gone away anyway. He might have gone to jail anyway. He might not have. Who knows what would have happened? I don't know. So Kathy says, I agree. I hope it helps good officers to have the courage to intervene if they see overreach harm being done by a fellow officer. Yes, this is, I think, the biggest piece of this. More important than the verdict, more important than how many years he gets, whatever the case may be. Michael says, good cops have shot people when they were in danger. Yeah. And that was my point earlier. I think you're right, Michael. That's why every cop deserves due process. Not every cop, act of violence is inappropriate. Some clearly are, but not everyone is. They have a tough job, and sometimes they got to put somebody on the ground. Yes, that's true. But again, if you have an environment where the good cops can step in, or the community can step in even, you're going to have a much better chance of knowing when you're making that error or not. You stop putting a guy down, and other cops go, do that. Good idea. And the community goes, yeah, get that guy. Put him down. Yeah. Then they're like, yeah, this is a dangerous guy. Put him down. Maybe you got to rough up because he won't act unless you do rough him up. I get it. There are some people in this world who violence is the answer. Yeah, absolutely. But if everyone's going, dude, you can stop now. He's unconscious or he's in cuffs. You can stop. Then they go, you know what? Let me back off. And that's the issue. So, yes. I have a question, Larry. People are saying they did not get justice. Why can't we move on from the riots? Michelle, because it's emotional. I do think that this will be better. I do think that when he gets his sentence, whatever it'll be, my gut says that he's going to get concurrent sentences, which means it's all done at the same time. That's what my gut says. I don't think they're going to stack them. I mean, they might, but I don't think they're going to stack them. The problem is right now is he was convicted on all three counts, and he was convicted in a very short period of time. Now, how judges see that is that's compelling evidence. This guy did it and deserves it. That's how judges usually see it. Judges see longer, deliberating time and more questions back and forth. Judges see that as maybe, could be. Judges see quick and done as, yep, he did it, done. put him away, throw the book at him. So I think he's going to get harsh sentences is my gut because of that. That's what I think. And I think that will help for people to feel like they're getting justice. The reality of it, Michelle, is our justice system isn't a justice system. It's a punishment system. So nobody gets justice. We just get revenge. We don't get justice. We get revenge. So I think people will always feel like it's not enough because they didn't take out, Derek and, I don't know, behead him in public or something. They didn't do that. And I guess they wanted that. So I think we just keep talking. We keep expressing what happened. We keep trying to change until eventually we get past this. I think we can. It just takes time. So, yes. Avi says, imagine being so oppressed you need to fly to a protest in a private jet as Reverend Al Shelton did. Also, Mad Max Maxine Waters hates the police so much she requested protection while she encouraged her rage mob to set their city on fire. These people live in a land of the absurd. Hell is a place where there is no reason. A lot of the stuff you're saying is very valid, Avi. The problem is that we reward it, right? We're still talking about Maxine Waters. We're still talking about Al Sharpton, right? We reward it. Al Sharpton shows up. They pull Jesse Jackson out of retirement. They roll him out of the home, bring him out too. And now they're all on TV. And it's on Fox. It's on CNN. It's on MSNBC. I went through the channels. They're on every channel. I mean, every channel. It's all over Facebook, all over Twitter. They're everywhere. Avi, it works. If this is your job, why wouldn't you do it? You'd be a fool not to. As mad as you might be at Maxine Waters, for her selfish reasons, well done. That's all I can say. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be relevant again. And there you go. Relevant yet again. Back in the news. And she can now go back to constituents and say, see, I was fighting for justice. She gets reelected yet again in the landslide. And Al Sharpton gets more people to watch is there a weekend show or something? Doesn't Al have a weekend show? Whatever he has. I think he has one on MSNBC, right? People now go watch his weekend show. The reason why they do it is because it works. It's selfishness. And whatever the consequences are, whatever. And it works. So, John, Larry, what are your thoughts on Pelosi's comments thanking Floyd for sacrificing his life for justice? What? Is that true? I believe they are way more about thanking him for his sacrifice for the political power she gained as a result. Should care less about Mr. Floyd or justice. Wow, did that really happen? God, I hope it didn't happen. Did she actually say that? Thanking Floyd for sacrificing his life? Floyd wasn't trying to sacrifice his life for justice. I mean, unless there's something that I've completely missed here. George Floyd wasn't like, you know what I'll do? I'll get killed by the cops to save America. I don't think he did that. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like that's an insult. I think it's an insult. Floyd was a victim. He wasn't a martyr. He was a victim. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference. If you voluntarily sacrifice your life or sacrifice yourself or take great pains that you know are dangerous and you're killed, that's a martyr. MLK was a martyr. Gandhi was a martyr. These are martyrs. Jesus was a martyr. These are martyrs. The people who said, I know what I'm out here doing for others. I might take a bullet, or in the case of Jesus, I might take a crucifying. I might take this. This could happen to me, and I'm doing it. Those are martyrs. George Floyd was wrong place, wrong time. I'm not trying to, say anything negative about him or his family. I'm not. And it makes no sense to attack George Floyd. He's dead. Whatever negative things you say against George Floyd don't affect him. He's dead already. They only hurt his family and those who loved him. That's all they hurt. So I'm not here to trash talk George Floyd at all. It's not helpful. So I don't care. But I am saying I don't think he's a martyr. I think that's incorrect. He wasn't purposefully trying to do that. If he was saying, I'm going to go out here and protest in front of the cops and whatever, then that's, say one of the kids who were watching tried to physically get the knee off of George Floyd's neck and a cop shot the kid. That's a martyr, right? That would be a martyr. That person was like, no, I'm going to save someone knowing that the cops might shoot me. That would be a martyr. George Floyd was a victim. He was wrong place, wrong time. So I think it's one, incorrect, and two, you are correct. She's just virtue signaling. That's all she's doing, right? If I was talking to George Floyd's family, I don't know them and they don't know me, but if I knew them, I would be saying, I'm sorry you lost someone you loved. It's terrible. I know he had problems, and I know you were hoping that it could turn, and now you'll never know if he could have done it, if he could have turned his life around. That's terrible for you. And I hope that this gives you some closure. I hope it gives you some closure and makes your healing a little bit better, because I know you had hoped that he would turn his life around because you loved him. I get that. And if any of you have had someone in your family who's had bad times, who's done bad things, who may be the black sheep of the family or whatever you want to call it, if you love that person, you still hope they're going to turn their life around because you love them. And you hope they will. If you have an addict in your life, you still hope the addict turns their life around because you still love them and you hope they do, or they doing something dumb or doing something wrong or go to jail. You still hope that they turn their life around because you love them. So I think his family is hurt. Pelosi doesn't care about George Floyd or anybody else. That's correct, John. She doesn't care. She was like, this is a virtue signal, and maybe I'll get a cool, I don't know, soundbite on someone's webcast or something. That's what she was hoping for. So yeah, they're turning him into some form of martyr, which he isn't. He was a victim, and wrong place, wrong time. So Thomas says, meanwhile, blacks 8 times more likely to die of COVID if they live in New York City, a trend in most liberal cities. Black neighborhoods destroyed in liberal cities by rogue BLM and Antifa riots. The purge of blacks from liberal cities has taken hundreds of thousands of lives. This S show was just a distraction. Just a distraction. I'm not sure I would say it's distraction, Thomas. What I would say is they're putting much more value on it than is real. How about that? I wouldn't go distraction. There was some importance to this, and there was some value to it. There was some. Not as big as they're talking, but there was some, right? Again, I have to keep saying it. Cops, good cops, stepped up. That's a big deal. It is. Are we having systemic change? Are we ending the war on drugs? Are we ending qualified immunity? Are cops taking on liability insurance? No, that's not happening now. But maybe they'll listen now. So yeah, I think distraction is too far, is what I would say, Thomas. I get your point. I think it's too far. I wouldn't go to distraction. Obviously, these people don't care about George Floyd. True. They are rageaholics who enjoy destroying things. I'm not sure about that. You might be going too far on that one, Avi. I think people are looking for purpose. I mean, don't you see that? I do. People are looking for purpose, particularly after last year, where so many people weren't able to go to work, weren't able to take care of their families, weren't able to go do things. They're searching for purpose. And this gives people purpose. Let's go out on the street and change the world. Let's go do that. And what I would say is that feels good. That's the emotional aspect I've been talking about all the time, right? You guys ask me all the time, why are people tearing down statues? Because it feels good. That's the reason. Why do people do so many things? Because it feels good. It's why people do stuff. Now, I'm not saying they should. I'm not validating. Be clear, Avi. I'm not validating. I'm saying that's why people do things. It feels good. So they're out there. I'm making changes. I'm emoting with others. I'm sharing emotions with others. It's almost like a community. I think that's what it is more than anything else. I don't think the violence is the violence, I think, is a byproduct, not the goal. The goal is community and purpose of whatever I can find. If that means violence is included, okay, we'll do some of that too. I think that the violent part is not the purpose, but I think they become open to it if the community okays it. I know that's a nuance. I know it is, but I think that's actually stronger. If you give people a different type of mission or purpose that does not include violence, I think they won't go violent. Rain says, we need to begin real reform around how we police here in America. Yes. She says, there are alternatives that some states and cities have already implemented. Our communities need to be able to hold space for transformed conversations around policing and new policies, period. Yes, I believe this verdict is the beginning of that. I hope so, Rain. My worry is if you hear the way some people are speaking, they want to turn this now into hunting cops. That's not what you're saying, I see. It's not what I'm saying. That is my worry. And the people who don't want change are going to say this is now all about hunting cops, whether it is or isn't. So if you want actual police reform, you have to be crystal clear and say, this is not about hunting cops. It is about reform. It is about letting the good cops thrive and point out the bad cops, about having real conversations. To your point, Rain, because I brought this up before, policing is different in every place in New York State. And my governor is forcing every single police force in New York State, it's about 500 police forces in New York State, to reform. And my response to them is, why? Well, Larry, don't we need police reform? We do, but not all 500 police departments require that. You should reform your police if you're unhappy with your police. You should be policed how you want to be policed. That's how you should be policed. And if you have the space, like you're saying, Rain, for real communities to have conversation with their police, then they'll find out, you know what? We do want you in our neighborhoods because we're worried, or we want you here, or doing this, or we don't, we got this, or let's work together, or here are our priorities. We don't care if you're enforcing noise pollution. We don't care about that. We care about the drug dealers, or the reverse. We don't care about you being grabbing the kids with weed. We care about the noise pollution, or whatever your community cares about. So I completely agree with you, and I hope it's true. My worry is what you are talking about is actual bottom-up change. That's what you're talking about, bottom-up change. And I am all in on bottom-up change. What people are talking about is top-down change. Top-down change fails so often. I hope you're right, though. So, Tool68 says, regarding the victory of cops now being able to hold each other accountable, what do you think about peer bystander intervention, duty to intervene? Do you think intervention will become more common? This is going to sound horrible. I don't think we're ready for that. I'm not ready for it. And the second part is, when you have the war on drugs, now are you asking gangbangers to get involved too? That's actually more dangerous right now. I think in the future, that might be realistic. And also depends on where you are, right? In certain areas of the country, if Farmer John steps in, the sheriff, Bob knows who Farmer John is, and he knows who, Farmer Jane is. And if they step in, they know each other. And that makes sense. I can see that happening. Hey, you're going too far. Stop this, whatever. No, not that guy, that guy. That makes sense. But in certain areas, particularly larger cities, stepping in might be a gangbanger trying to get you off his boy, and he might have something for that cop. And now that cop is worried for his life. I'm in a bad neighborhood. I got a bunch of gangbangers. I got one on the floor. I got another guy coming going, yo, get off my boy. I might want to draw down on him. I'm just being forward. And I hope that makes sense. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this may be too far of a step right now, depending upon where you are in your police force, which goes back to Rain's, question or her comment. If you get communities to have good conversation with their police force, you can make a very obvious plan or rules for that kind of intervention. That doesn't make a cop think some guy's coming after him to cut his throat or something. I think you can do it, but right now it's probably a lot. It's probably a lot. So Sam says, I was trained in therapeutic crisis intervention, and sometimes a person in crisis can't be talked down. He's be restrained. Yes, absolutely. This is true. That's why I bring it up. Just because a cop is violent doesn't mean he's a bad cop. He might be, and he might not be. We shouldn't assume that a violent cop is by default a bad cop. Those two things are not necessarily together. Sometimes cops got to be violent. They have a tough job. They got to sometimes be violent with violent people. Absolutely. So I totally agree. So thank you for that, Sam. My second piece is, the average person feels bad when they see it, but it helps the person in need without causing permanent harm. Oh, yes. It's used daily by teachers and cops with very low incidence of harm. There we go. See, I like that. Therapeutic crisis intervention. I like that. Absolutely. Yes. Matt says, I think the verdict works, but I'm concerned the mob is emboldened with backing like Maxine Waters, Biden talking about the case, and unknown actors to intimidate witnesses with vandalism and threats. This case, I think they got it right, but the next time there's a cop that kills someone, does the mob gather and they force a verdict against someone who's innocent? I think that is a worry, Matt. I agree. I think that's a worry. The advantage of this one is, and sorry, I feel bad for Derek Chauvin's loved ones. They've lost him, but it was decisive, and a decisive verdict is always a better verdict. It's handled better. It was decisive. All three very short, decisive. That's better for the family, for everybody to go, okay, we have to accept this is true, and they're going to have a better time dealing with the pain of losing their loved one. I feel no remorse or pain for Chauvin, but I assume he has loved ones who've lost the breadwinner and someone that they care about. So they're hurt. Absolutely. So, but I do think there is a worry about that. But again, I think generally speaking, I mean, unless someone's had a different experience than I've had, generally speaking, jurors don't go down that road. They don't. So Bill says solution to too much government power is more government. What else would there be? What else would there be? Absolutely. Yes. So, all right. Let's see if I can grab some of these. Do you think his sentence will be too low? To be forward is I don't care. I don't care what his sentence is. Will it be too low? I doubt it. I mean, it was a decisive verdict. So generally speaking, judges are going to hammer more because it was so decisive. And the prosecutor is going to ask for, put him in jail for 7,000 years. So I don't think so. I don't think it'll be too low at all. No, absolutely. So the scariest words I ever hear from these talking heads is to make sure this never happens again. Yes, Dan, thank you. Because once you come up with this will never happen again, that means now I have to have zero tolerance policies. That means now I have to have more laws. Now I got to hunt more people. Now we got to have more people responsible. Now I got to have a police force that polices the policing police force. I got to have all these things, more bureaucracy. Yes, yes, and yes. I want to create an environment to where this is very rare. It's going to happen again. We are humans. Cops are humans. We are humans. We're going to make mistakes. Absolutely. So live your life. Close the arms says, I totally agree with the private insurance. Yes, it is a great idea. 100%. Yes. We, the people, don't want to go against the police. And that's not crazy. Alice, shouldn't we want to trust our police? I mean, it's just humans. Shouldn't we want to trust our police? I think we want to. I hope we would. I really do. I hope we want to trust our police. And I think this is a way that we can begin to trust our police force. And many people do. Many people do trust their police force. Not everyone is anti-cop. Some people are. I mean, defund the police and all that stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. Paul Andrew, Nancy Pelosi, quote, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life. Really? Paula, I was hoping that was not true. And now you show me that it is. God, some of these people are just terrible, aren't they? Aren't they terrible? Man. God. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Jesus is our savior, not a martyr. He's not a martyr today. He was a martyr when he was crucified. So I think he was a martyr then. Today, no. I think you're right. But at that point, he was. As I think all saints in the Catholic religion, I'm not Catholic. If someone's Catholic, you can help me out. I think all saints, if I'm not mistaken, in the Catholic religion are supposed to be martyrs. No, they're not. You can be a saint and not be a martyr. Most saints are martyrs, but not all. Thank you. I had to think about that. Yeah. So thank you for that, Joseph. I'm on fire. Thank you so much, Robert. I appreciate that. Yes. So let's see if I can keep doing this. Let's see here. Second-degree murder conviction is not justice. Say what you want. The guy did not want to kill Floyd, akin to suicide. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a valid point, right? That you could say it wasn't second-degree murder. And a lot of people thought that was a push for, that was a push, right? To go that far to second degree. I could see that you saying that second, which is why I said I thought they'd get at least 2. I didn't know if they'd get second degree because I'm with you on that, George. That was kind of a stretch. But I go back to what I was talking about earlier. jurors are affected by emotion too, right? I mean, you had the brother talk, you saw the video, you heard the cops deal with this. I mean, they're just humans. The system is not perfect. It isn't. It's flawed. It's still the best system that we have right now. I can't think of a better one right now, but yeah. Pelosi quote, Matt does it. Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life. Because of you and because of thousands, millions of people in the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice. Wow. This really bothers me. It bothers me because I don't want to talk trash about George Floyd. It's not helpful. We shouldn't do it. It only hurts his family. But I don't have to deify the guy. That's not required either. I don't have to deify him, and I don't have to talk trash about him. Neither is helpful. And deifying him is just virtue signaling. It's just, see, he's now an angel in heaven looking down upon us and smiling. I have a feeling if you could communicate with George Floyd right now, and he have a choice of being alive or dead, he'd be like, no, I'd rather be alive. Someone else could be the martyr. I'd rather be alive. I didn't want her to say that. But you know what? As I go over it in my head, Matt, you telling me, Paul is showing me, it's her. It makes sense. It does make sense. Yes, it does make sense. The lunar eclipse, Larry, accountability, transparency, and culpability is crucial. Agreed. However, when we allow mob rule, Maxine, that's not justice, it's vengeance. Also agreed, right? I'm with you on both parts. I do think that Maxine Waters was selfish, like all the rest of them. She wasn't thinking. And I do think that scared a lot of people, but I don't think it affected the jury. The next one is a valid point, right? I forgot who brought that up. One of you guys brought up the idea, does it then affect the next jury? Maybe. Again, I go back to mobs, right? The mob and MS-13 and Crips and Bloods. We put tons of them away. Am I off on this? I don't know. Sarah says, that's what I was wondering. Didn't fleeing police used to mean you got chased? Now it seems to mean you get shot. You resist, you get shot. I may be ignorant, but that can't be the procedure now. There's the other issue, right? That's my point. So what's the worst that happens if some guy escapes, right? Again, I want to be clear. If a guy's got a gun or a knife or a bat or whatever is coming at the cop, defend yourself. Officer, please defend yourself. Of course. But if he's fleeing, look, I will take this. And people always tell me the same thing. Larry, these guys have dangerous jobs. Yes. And so do Marines. And you don't see Marines shooting every single civilian out there. You don't see them when someone surrenders them shooting prisoners. They don't do it either. You surrender, the Marines go, okay, take your prisoner. They might shove you around a bit because they're pissed off, but they're not going to execute you. Marines don't execute you. And those are people who are actively shooting back at them, and they don't execute you. So I get it. We don't have to go that far. We just don't. Absolutely. The verdict doesn't necessarily mean that the individual was done justice. Also true. Yes. Also true. Avi says, Larry, I saw a video where people in Minneapolis were saying casually how they need to set the city on fire while wearing a mask for themselves from COVID-19. So they have no issue setting a whole city on fire, yet they're afraid for their safety from a germ with 99.9% survival rate. This is that absurdity. And I'm going to say the same thing, Avi. It's emotion, not logic. Same thing. It's emotion, not logic. And the more we try to communicate in a way that does both of those things, both emotion and logic. I know some of you guys, you got mad at me when I talked about Ben Shapiro. You got mad at me when I was correcting him. He's not perfect either. We're all imperfect. Him too. And the one thing he's 100% wrong on is what he says, your feelings, facts don't care about your feelings. That's silly. Feelings make up facts. You've seen it, Avi. You've talked about it on this show, how people just make up stuff. Facts, feelings make up facts. Feelings ignore facts. Feelings adjust facts. Feelings are super powerful. They really are. And if we're going to communicate our message better, we've got to be able to touch that emotional side too, and we got to do it better. And sadly, most of us are not that good at it. We got to get better at the emotional side. What do you think? I'll talk about CNN right now. CNN, in my view, and this is my opinion, some of you should disagree, is almost unwatchable now. I would literally rather watch MSNBC now. Yes. Why? Because MSNBC doesn't pretend. It just goes, no. We're all about left socialism. We're in. That's who we are. You watch this show. That's what you're getting. You don't like it, turn channel. Fox is, we're about the right. You don't like that? Don't watch this channel. We're about the right. Sorry, it's who we are. CNN pretends to be in the middle. They pretend to be that self-righteous, thing in the middle. They're not at all, but they pretend to be that. So what do? They scare you all day long. If you watch CNN, it's you're going to die of COVID. You're going to die of COVID. Cops are going to shoot you. Cops are going to kill you. You're going to die of COVID. Cops are going to shoot you. That's every day on CNN. If you watch CNN, Avi, you're scared. Cops are going to, if a cop is to shoot me, COVID's going to kill me. That's how you start thinking. I'd rather watch MSNBC or Fox. I'd just rather. I mean, at least they're honest. They're open. Here we are. So when people get told that for months, now a year, how do they going to act? I feel like they're going to act that way. It's just human nature. I'm not saying it's right, Avi, and I want to be clear. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's the way it works. It's human. It's human nature, right? It's human nature. Jimmy says, I'm glad good cops showed up at trial and called out Chauvin, but the other cops that watched the murder should have shown up as Chauvin murdered the man. This is true. And my hope, Jimmy, is that those cops stepping up saying he went too far will embolden other cops, right? We'll have other cops. We'll get them to go, whoa, let me step up down, right? And of course, also, I want the community to step up too. This can't be only about cops. Every time you see me talk about police reform, it's never only how do we punish cops. It's never that. It's how do we get cops to work with the community? How do we get the community to step up? It's got to be two sides. It can't just be beat up cops. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. Yes, absolutely. Belligerent Ulsterman says the internet's full of bad takes right now from all sides. Thank God for Larry. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you so much. Yes. Correction officer have cell extraction teams. Yep. They help remove troubled inmates to isolation. I worked at MCAC in Baltimore. Oh, okay. You in an 8x10 cell with a tiny window, vent, sink, and toilet wreck for 1 hour. Yes, absolutely. I've seen that before. One of the guys I used to work with on my team when I was running for governor, he used to be a cell extraction, part of the cell extraction team. First guy in with the shield. Absolutely. Yes. So Sean says, Larry, do most employers/businesses have to carry liability insurance for the businesses and employees? Generally speaking, business owners and professionals, those two. I carry insurance. In my case, it's called E&O insurance, which is errors and omission insurance. If I make an error, I'm insured. Many businesses that I do work with require it. Usually it's a number, at least $5 million or $1 million in insurance, whatever the number is, they require it. If I don't have it, I can't work for them, right? I have to be able to have insurance. And when the insurance numbers have been too high, and that's happened to me sometimes, people require too much for me to work with them, I'll go under another banner. Like I'll go into someone else's company. I'll give them a cut. They'll go in and do the pitch with me because they have all the insurances. They take on the liability in case I screw up, right? So they have the insurance to cover it. They're the ones who get sued if something goes wrong. But I do the work and I pay them a cut. I'm basically paying them to insure me is what I'm basically doing. So yes, all professionals do it. Lawyers, doctors, all professionals have specific insurance liability, and business owners. I'm a business owner. I have professional liability insurance in case I screw up. Yes, that's how that works. Now, for professionals in New York State, I think it's a law. You have to have it. I think you do. In a case of someone like me, I don't have to have it. But if I don't, I'm severely limited on the work I can do, particularly for larger companies, because they will almost always require it. I hope that makes sense. The average person doesn't always care. They don't care about that. Yes. Paula says, yeah, protective custody is not the whole. There we go. That's what I thought. Thank you, Paula. He will be in a smaller area like pedos and some high profile. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's how I think it should work. I completely agree. So, all right, let me grab a couple more of these. I like pro BLT. Very cute. I love that. Yes. See if I can do this. Do you think this verdict will help cops hold each other accountable in a similar situation? Next time they might not stand by while the next bad cop keeps going when someone says, I can't breathe. I do hope that will happen. I do, right? And when you see other cops, and I showed this the other day, right? Remember when I showed the video of that one terrible cop, was it Maryland, I think, or Virginia, where the guy, comes out with a gun and tasers, and the pepper sprays, right? Pepper sprays the army officer in his car, and the cop, the guy's like, I'm scared, and the cop's like, you should be scared. He's got a gun on him, all that stuff, right? The other guy who was there, you could see he was like, should I? This is not right. Something's up, and he hesitated. And I hope that now that guy, that good cop who was there, would have been like, dude, stop. I got this. Back off, man. I got this. You're hyped. I'll get him. And in the end, if you saw the video, he did. At the end, the other cop went and pulled him out. He was like, stop. Let me. He saw it went too far and he stepped in. I wish he had stepped in earlier, and I wish others had stepped in too. Maybe because I've had family, my father was in law enforcement. A lot of his friends were in law. Maybe I'm biased here, but I honestly believe that most cops are good cops. I'm not just saying that. I don't have the virtues. I'm libertarian. Lots of libertarians hate cops. I'm not that guy. I don't have the virtue signal at all. I'm saying it because I think it's true. I think there are some really bad cops who never get punished, and they make a whole lot of cops look terrible because they keep doing terrible stuff. And I think Chauvin is one of those guys, and I'm glad he's gone. I think he was making a lot of cops look bad. And because there was, to your point, Jericho, there was no reason, no environment for good cops to step in. They didn't. They became apathetic, and they just let cops like him keep going. I'm hoping that changes now. That's what I'm hoping. And I hope I'm right. I hope that most cops actually are good. I think they are. I believe it. I've known many. I think most are really good. I think there's some bad ones, and there was no system and no environment to stop them. So they kept being bad. That's what I think. So yes. Leslie says, I shared this live before I knew your opinion because I knew it would be reasonable and compassionate. Thanks. Oh, Leslie, thank you. That was, I hope that people, even when you disagree with me, I hope you at least see that I tend to come from the same place every time. I come from the same place every time. I think, I believe at least, that I'm in the right mindset, that my mindset is correct. Even if I'm wrong, that at least I'm coming from the right spot, and you can see where I'm going. You can at least go, you know what? I get it, but no. Right? I get where he's coming from, but no. Very often I see where you guys are coming from, and I may disagree, but I see where you're coming from. Right? I see where you're coming from. So George Floyd put himself in the position. Are you saying he's a martyr? Oh, I hope you're not saying that, are you, Joseph? You're not saying he's a martyr, are you? I don't believe the martyr thing at all. So if you're saying he's a martyr, that's tough for me to buy. I don't think I buy that. I can't buy him being a martyr. If you're saying it's his fault that he went there, I'm not sure where you're going with that. But if you're saying it's his fault, yes and no. And I'll go back to what I said before. And that is, it's because of lockdowns. For those of you who know George Floyd, he had a checkered past for sure. A lot of bad things passed. He'd done time before. It was an addict. Lots of bad things in his life. But he actually had a job, which is why I feel so bad for his family. Because, again, I don't know your background, Joseph, but if you've ever had someone in your life who's been an addict or been a felon or done some bad or dumb things, when you see them do something good, like get a job or, not go to jail or not do drugs or be clean for 30 days or any of those things, it gives you hope. You're like, oh, maybe he's finally turning his life around. Maybe he is. I know he failed before, but this could be the time. And it gives you hope. And I know sometimes it's false hope. And those of you who've had people in your life that have disappointed you, you've seen the false hope. but you still had it because you loved them and you hoped. And his family hoped. He actually had a job. Then the COVID lockdown happened and he lost his job. I don't know what would have happened to George Floyd, whether he would have turned his life around or gone right back to jail. I don't know. Who knows? Gone right back to drugs. Maybe. I don't think we'll never know that now. But here's what I would say. If it wasn't for the lockdowns, he would have been at work that day. And if he would have been at work that day, he wouldn't have been killed by Chauvin. So he put himself in that position, and so did government lockdowns. That was a combo. Government lockdown gets an assist on that play because they helped him go there. Would he, again, I don't know him, Joseph, at all. I mean, this might have been his thing. Who knows? And he might have gone right back to what he was doing. Who knows? But I do know what families think. I've been around enough of them. I've had it in my own family. When he got that job, I know his family was like, oh, this could be it. Maybe he turned himself around. Now we'll never know. Maybe, maybe not. That's why I feel bad for him. And I'm sorry, for his family. Not for him, for his family. So I feel bad for his family. So, yes. Heather says, Larry Sharpe, watch out, going to get derailed over here. Oh, is that? I hope that's a good thing. I'm not sure. Is it a good thing or I can't tell? Maybe. One of the two. Yes. Christine says, George Floyd's death was tragic, but cops are called because he had committed a crime. Yeah, agreed. 100%. As I was just talking with Joseph here. Yeah, I mean, he was doing drugs and passing bad money. Yes, it's true. Doesn't mean I want him to die, though. Doesn't mean I want him to die. Absolutely. Excuse me. Jay says, Larry, would you consider going on Joe Rogan podcast again now that you're not on the campaign? I don't see, I mean, I'd always love to go on Joe Rogan's show, but why would he want me on now? I'm just some guy talking trash. There's tons of us out there in case you hadn't noticed. But I am writing a book, which I hope will be out no later than June, hopefully May, no later than June. When I have my book out, maybe I'll go on and I'll pump my book or something. By the way, it's a book on happiness. So yes, I'll be writing a book on happiness. It's hopefully coming out by June 1. That is the hope. We're working on it right now. So we'll see. So Rick says we need to reform what we police and the how will follow. Oh, Rick. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Oh my God. I think I might steal that. I might give you a little bit of credit, but probably not just going to steal it. I probably won't give you any credit. But if you hear it again, you'll know that I've stolen it from you. That's very good because you're right. If we pull off cannabis off Schedule 1, if we end the war on drugs, it does change how we police. And it's one of the reasons why you find people with different issues and different concerns in rural policing versus urban policing. Very well said. I love that. We need to reform what we police and the how will follow. All right. That one I'm stealing. Love that. Pete says bad police officers and bad teachers could be fired faster if their unions didn't make it impossible to fire bad employees. Yes, absolutely. Yes, 100%, which is why I like the insurance angle so much, right? If you simply allow unions to be police unions to be insurance brokers, if they actually do that, then what winds up happening is the insurance companies are the bad guys. If the insurance companies won't insure the officer, then the officer can't be an officer anymore. If you've messed up so much like Chauvin did, Chauvin had a record. He had done bad things. An insurance company probably wouldn't have insured him anymore, or his insurance would have been so high that he'd have been like, I can't be a cop. I can't afford to be a cop. I got to pay these insurance rates. It's too high. In which case he'd do something else. And Chauvin shouldn't have been a cop. That's why I like the idea of the insurance. The insurance piece allows unions to just be unions, support good cops, and the insurance companies become the bad guys. Yeah, you can be a cop. You got to pay $40,000 a year in insurance. What? I guess you ain't a cop anymore. Go do something else. Or at one point, I'm not insuring you. So sorry, you can't get insurance. There we go. You can't even get insurance. So, all right. John says, destroying private property and hurting pros and business owners is not a purpose. Destroying things has nothing to do with what you are mad about. Yeah, and I'm with you on that, John. It's not a purpose. And that's my point. I think it's a byproduct. There are people who will take advantage of others in every single environment. And I'm sure you've seen it before. So now you have people who are running around last year with no purpose. And then guy A and guy B said, let's go out there and protest. We got some purpose. Come on out. And they do. Yeah, save this. You see, I've seen literally, I have seen the interviews on CNN. I know it's terrible, but I've seen them on CNN and people going, yeah, oh my God, I was home and now I see how important this is. I have so much to learn. It's so important. I see that every other interview is that. And it's usually a young white guy or white gal, almost always. And they're saying that, oh, I have so much to know and learn. And now I'm so involved and blah, blah. They've got a new purpose, a new community. The purpose isn't burning stuff down. But when you have all that power, there's always someone who goes, ooh, I got a bunch of young people who think this is a cool thing. What if I convince them? And they do. I think the same thing. There are bad actors who are in these groups going out and doing bad things. And I see it here in New York City. The average person who supports BLM doesn't know what BLM is. I'm not joking with that. I know many people who watch this show and listen, they're up to speed on BLM because you care about that stuff. You pay attention. The average person doesn't. They don't. They just go, oh, black people being killed? Oh, that's bad. Who supports them? This BLM thing? Okay, let's do that. That's as far as they go. Like they haven't gone any further. And I know for some of you, it blows your mind. And to be clear, I'm not saying that BLM leadership doesn't know what they do. Of course they do. I'm saying the average Joe Schmo in the street. I don't know. Oh, we're doing this now? Okay. Am I woke now? Do I get woke points? I get woke points? All right, I'm here. See? I got my BLM mask. Do I get woke points? And they go, yes, you do. You get tons of woke points. Look at all the woke points you got. You're great. Take this Molotov cocktail and throw it right there. Over there, you'll get even more woke points. Tons of woke points. Oh, so many. You'll unlock all kind of new cool things if you just do that. And I'm being facetious, obviously I'm teasing. But the point, I think, is a real point. I'm with you. I think Joseph is thinking the same way. You know, destroying property is not a purpose. And I don't think most people want to. I think they get tied up in it and then pick a side, and then it's their community, and they then back it up and have, look, John, I'm sure you've seen this happen in your own life. Someone who you love or respect or care about does something bad, and you try your best to come up with an excuse as to why it's not that bad or why they did it or whatever, because you love and or respect that person. That's human nature. So now you're part of this BLM movement and some guy does something stupid. What do? Well, see, it's because, and well, no, he didn't mean it. And it's human nature. Again, just like I was talking to Avi, I'm not excusing this. I'm always have been. I was against it in the summer. I was against it in, when they were trashing the Capitol January 6th. I'm against destroying property. I'm against crushing businesses. I'm against all that stuff. I'm against the violence. Doesn't mean I can't understand it or even, kind of explain it. Doesn't excuse it. It's an explanation. That's all. So, all right. If this incident had not been caught on camera, the chance of Chauvin being convicted of anything would have been slim to none. That's probably true. That's probably true. And that, I think, may be a good thing that's the norm now. Cameras are now the norm, which is good. I think it will make for fairer policing. My worry is that, as I said earlier, I don't want the pendulum to swing the opposite way to the point where now we're hunting cops. That will backfire, just like this defund the police crap will backfire. That is a terrible idea. I really hope that this does not happen. That if we swing too far the opposite way, it is going to backfire. That is not going to be a good answer. So I'm hoping that we could keep it in reality with good cops stepping up, just focusing on the bad cops. And that's why I'm trying to not just go, oh, cops are bad. Oh, cops are awesome. Cops are human. Like everybody else. They're human. Michelle says, today the table was open. Now both sides need to set the table and keep coming back till things change on both sides. Oh, very good. You're right, Michelle. Yes. Cops are not all bad and blacks not all innocent. 100% true. 100% true. Yes. Together, make them responsible for their side and together figure out the way to do it. Michelle, I gotta bring you in. You're gonna have to be the you gotta be the mediator. We're gonna make a new TV show. Michelle is the mediator. You're gonna bring them together. I love the idea, and I think you're right. Right. The only worry I have is when both sides come to the table. Do they come to the table seeking vengeance, or do they come to the table seeking a solution? The mediator matters, right? Is the mediator someone who's going, all right, so how do we get even with each other? Or is the mediator coming back saying, all right, so how do we have a better society where each group of people is being policed the way they want to be policed? How do we do that? And how do we bring that community in? I would love that. It's a good idea, Michelle. I like that imagery. That's good imagery. As long as you have good food too. And dessert. Yes, good food and dessert. Yes. James says, Larry Sharpe, do you think we'll see the end of the war on drugs? I view the war on terrorism and the war on drugs as the two most destructive policies. Agreed with you. I agree 100%. Those are two of the most terrible policies we have. They are crushing us. Unfortunately, proponents of these policies have such a strong hold on power. The war on drugs is not going to end under Biden's watch. It's just not. No, it'll end under Harris's watch if she runs and wins in 2024. God, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it does not happen. But if it does happen, I don't think it'll end on her watch either. They're drug warriors. They're drug warriors. It's not going to end on their watch. If there's a different president in 2024, we have a shot. We have a shot. If it's a hardcore conservative president, probably not. If it's a Republican who isn't a hardcore conservative, probably yes. Many conservatives, hardcore conservatives, not all conservatives, that's wrong. Many hardcore conservatives. The average conservative, I don't think cares that much about cannabis either way, but the hardcore conservatives often do. They're like, no, drugs can be legal, none. Many of them are very aggressive. So the president is not a hardcore conservative, and it's not a drug warrior Democrat. Then we got a shot at ending it in 2024. All it takes, and I say it all the time, just take cannabis off Schedule 1. Just do that. Do that, and all of a sudden, you'll see things begin to change. That's the critical piece. Just start that, and everything will begin to change. So do I see it happening now? No. 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 Obviously, it's a question, what's more fake, CNN or King Cuomo's book on leadership? I think they're both pretty fake, Avi. They're both pretty fake. Absolutely. They're both pretty, I don't know which one's, I don't know. They're both bad. Yes. Shannon says, as an insurance underwriter, it would be a tough risk to insure a professional liability policy for a police officer. They would definitely need a better paycheck to enable to afford it. In theory, Shannon, unless you were doing it, en masse, right? If you're doing it en masse and you had an agreement with the unions that unions don't want to lose the business. So again, this wouldn't be overnight. I think you're right. And you probably couldn't do it, like one group of cops. You'd have to have it to like the entire state agrees or the entire country agrees or massive amounts agree so that you get that. Obviously, you got more bodies in the system. The insurance could make some sense if you have enough bodies in the system. And the second piece, of course, is underwriters like you would be like, there's too many risks. This risk, this risk, this risk. And again, unions then will be the ones to say, okay, let's change policy so that we can mitigate these risks. Your point's a very valid one. Difficult, but not impossible. I think it would take time. It would take more cops joining and more unions accepting it, and then probably policy changes within unions. But again, if it's in the union's best interest to make the change, they'll probably change. It's in their best interest, right? I want to set up a system to where people are doing this, right? Because they want to do it. That's the issue. So they can actually, want to do it, make sense, they'll do it. That's the issue. So, yes. Maria says, Floyd might have put the pill in his mouth if there was no drug war. Oh, interesting take. Maybe. Interesting take. So you're saying even if there was no war on drugs, that he doesn't take the illegal drug and does take fentanyl. Valid point. Yeah. So without government overreach, you're saying even that doesn't happen. Maybe. I love that take, Maria. It's a good take. I like that. Yes. So Lepke says, how do we know that how do we know that he knew he had counterfeit money? Oh, yeah, you're right. So maybe he was committing a crime. Well, that might be a crime anyway. I don't know how the laws work in that area. Maybe. I'm not sure how they work in there, but you're right. It's a valid point. And maybe it wasn't even a counterfeit money. Maybe it wasn't his. Maybe he didn't know. All good. We'll never know now. Right? We'll never know. If he wasn't dead, he would have gone to court and we probably would have found out, I assume. Or maybe not. He might have just copped the plea and moved on. It's maybe. So yeah. Shannon says, Larry, thank you for your reasonable candor. It's a refreshing change from our current political climate. Because I'm not trying to be righteous or fight. I'm trying to solve problems with human beings who are imperfect. I'm imperfect, Shannon. You are. We all are. Avi is. We all are imperfect. We all make mistakes. We all fall down. We all have to get back up. And we all are just, trying to make our way in this world. And I want to try to make a better system so that we have a better chance of having success. So Michael says, good survey, sir. Thanks for asking the questions. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for letting me bring this up. What is my survey this week? The perfect one. The Police Accountability Survey. Yes, it is from theadvocates.org. Please go into the description right now. Click that link right there that you see. Click the link that says Police Accountability Survey and take that survey. What do you think about police accountability? Let the advocates know what you think. Then take that survey. Once you finish, about 5 minutes or so. Once you're done, take the survey and share it and let others know that you've taken it so they can go take it too. Makes everybody happy. Sponsors are happy. I'm happy. I can keep doing this show. I can keep giving you those cool common sense takes that you like. I can still keep doing that. And everybody's happy. Say, Larry, I don't have time for that. No worries. Throw me some cash. Patreon.com/Sharpe, $10, $25 a month to support the staff that's doing work. You're seeing me putting up more stuff on Twitter. We got a TikTok now. Yep, we got TikTok. We're working on Instagram better than we've ever done. We're putting up new short videos. There's a new YouTube page called Sharpe Way Clips, which is a shorter YouTube page. We're working on that. That's the money you're putting up is going to that. That's where it's going. It's going right there, right? I still have a day job. So that money is going directly there so that we can build this up. We can be more popular. Being more popular matters. If you can help out, either take that survey, which keeps my sponsors happy, or throw me some cash. $10, $25 a month. If you got big Biden bucks, you're making tons of money, throw me $100 a month because you're making the big dollars. All good. You can't afford any of that? No worries. Like, comment, and share. That does matter. People see it. More people see it. Nothing but good. Like, comment, and share. It does matter. Please do that so we can keep moving this show forward. I hope you like what I'm doing. And if you do, help me to keep doing it. It does matter. So yes. So Joe says, I worked at a bank. When someone came in with a counterfeit, we confiscated it and sent it to the Secret Service. Gave the person paperwork to declare the loss in their taxes. Wow, is that right? There we go. Look at that. There we go. 100%. Prentice says, bad decisions on both men's parts causes tragedy. There's nothing to celebrate here. This is a valid point, Prentice, and I bring this up consistently. People get mad at me when I say it, right? You can do something that is either that's righteous in a way. For example, I'll bring up the idea of some of the shootings that we've had. A good cop can make a justified shooting or use justified violence against somebody, but it doesn't mean it's a good thing. It's still a bad thing. He's just justified. It was the right thing to do. And sometimes the right thing to do is a crappy thing, but it's the right thing to do. And yeah, this is a tragedy. Chauvin's family members are now, they've lost their man, right? Their man, and George Floyd's families, they've lost their man. So two men are now lost to families. That's a tragedy. Both men made decisions. Both were bad. And yeah, thank you for that. That's a great compassionate way of looking at things. Thank you, Prince. I agree with that. Larry, do you agree with the murder charge conviction of Chauvin? Do you think intent was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt? To be forward, I don't. And I wasn't sure he'd get the third count. I thought two. I thought he'd get 2 counts and not the third. That's what I thought was going to happen. Clearly, I was wrong. He got all 3. But this goes back to what I was talking to Avi about. It's emotion, right? That matters. people get emotional and they want to put him away and he's a bad guy. And to be forward, he's not likable. And I know that sounds so horrible. I know. It sounds horrible, Danny. It does. Did you change your name? Weren't you Roro? Did you change to Danny? It's fine. Whatever you like. I'll call you whatever you like. Danny's good, right? It seems like it's not fair. Why does likability matter? It does. And if you see people, and this you'll watch on TV often when people talk about when a lawyer is talking about the person in the room, they'll often go, my client so-and-so, my client so-and-so. When I would talk to lawyers about how, and I would consult with them and talk to them about how to talk about their client, I would say, never say my client. Always say the person's first name. Always. I would say Derek. If I was consulting, I would say, you always say Derek. Derek said, Derek does, Derek this, Derek that. You've got to humanize your client. Otherwise, the jury just goes, another bad guy, away he goes. It does matter. So I think you saw it here. It was very hard for the jury to see Danny as, to see Derek, Danny, whoops, now I'm calling you a bad guy, to see Derek as a likable human being. It was very hard. And because of that, they saw negativeness and evilness in him and gave all three. And I didn't see, to be my opinion and only my opinion, I didn't see Murder 2. I didn't see it. But what are you gonna do? Yes. So, all right. Let's see. Outcome definitely swayed by pressure of BLM protesters. I don't think that. I know people think that. I keep saying I find it hard to believe that was the issue. I find it hard to. So, Paul says the visual of Chauvin on Floyd's neck was horrifying. It was. Yes, it was hard to get past that visual. I hate to say it when all of these murderers on film are sickening, but Floyd's murder was so long and Chauvin was relentless. You could slowly watch the life going out of him. Philando Castile was just as brutal. I agree. Yes, I agree. The difference is with Philando Castile, you did not see cops go against that cop. They didn't. This time they did. And Philando was horrible. I completely agree. Yes. I really think that's an issue. Josh says, war on cops, like all wars, would be horrible and not find the reforming one. Yes, Josh, this is my biggest words. I keep talking about, I don't want this pendulum to shift, right? I don't want this pendulum to shift so far that now we're hunting cops. What a terrible idea that would be. I'm with you, Josh. You're reading my mind on this. That is a terrible idea. I want to do what Michelle said. Set the table. Let's sit down and start talking now. Now's the time to start talking. How do we get the good cops to step up, police the bad cops out, get the unions to get on board with this? Why don't we do that? I liked it a lot. And let's not all of a sudden start throwing all cops out. Everyone deserves due process, to include bad cops. I don't like bad cops, and they deserve due process. Both are true. They deserve due process. And if we have more trials like this, as bad as this would seem, but maybe they don't get, Murder 2 when he didn't really deserve Murder 2. Maybe they don't. So yes, war on cops is a terrible idea. Let's not do that. Absolutely. Joseph says, great conversation. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're aboard. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Lunar Eclipse says, Larry, a former musician from California, recently founded Black Lives Matter too. Oh, I don't remember that. Aim to address all problems in minority communities, not just police abuse. The organization is a grifting racket. Oh, yeah. There we go. Sadly, too true. Sadly, too true. Absolutely. Guys, I'm going to have to jump off. I got to jump on another podcast or not in a couple of minutes. I have a lot of stuff. I'm trying to stay busy, putting the message out to the best of my ability. As always, if you guys like what you watch, you think it was interesting and awesome, please like, comment, and share. It does matter. Share it as best you possibly can. Let's get the word out so we can grow more and more. As always, if you can sponsor on Patreon, please do so. And at a minimum, please give me 5 minutes, more minutes of your time. Take the police accountability survey, click that link, make my sponsors, theadvocates.org, very happy. They love when you take it and share it. It does matter. Complete and share. Please do that. let them know. It is great and awesome. I appreciate you guys tremendously, and I will see you all tomorrow.